Hello everyone, welcome to this session. We will be discussing host your domain on Azure DNS section. We have discussed distribute your services across Azure VMs, and all these chapters we discussed in our recent schedule. So we'll be continuing our preparation series for AG 104. So let me go to the topic. Host your domain in Azure DNS. So learning objective is configure Azure DNS to host your domain. Let's continue. So it has two exercises. Okay. Let's say that your company recently brought the custom domain name wideworldimporters.com from third-party domain register. The domain name is for new website that your organization plans to launch. You need a hosting service for your DNS domains. This hosting service would solve the wide world importers.com domain to your web server's IP address. You are already using Azure to build your website, so you decide to use Azure DNS to manage your domain. Configure Azure DNS to host your domain. What is Azure DNS? It is a hosting service for DNS domain that provides name resolution by using Microsoft Azure infrastructure. In this unit, you'll learn what is DNS and how it works. What is DNS? Domain name system is a protocol with TCP/IP standard. DNS serves as an essential role for translating the human readable domain names, for example, wideworldimporters.com, into a known IP address. IP address enable computers and network devices to identify the and route requests among themselves. DNS uses global directory hosted in the server around the world. Hosted on servers around the world, Microsoft is a part of the network that provides DNS service through the Azure DNS. DNS server is also known as DNS name server or just name server. How does DNS work? A DNS server carries out one of the two primary functions: maintain local cache of recently accessed or used domain names and their IP addresses. This cache provides a faster response to a local domain lookup request. If the DNS server cannot find the requested domain, it passes the request to another DNS server. This process repeats at each DNS server until either a match is made or the search timeout. Maintains the key value pair database of IP addresses and any host or subdomain over which the DNS server has authority. This function is often associated with mail, web, and other internet domain services. DNS server assignment. In order for a computer, server, or other network-enabled device to access web-based resources, it must reference a DNS server. When you connect by using on-premises network, then DNS settings come from your server. When you connect by using an external location like a hotel, then DNS settings come from the internet service provider. Domain lookup requests. Here is a simplified overview of the process a DNS server uses when it resolves a domain name lookup request. Checks to see if the domain name is stored in the short-term cache. If so, the DNS server resolves the domain request. If the domain isn't in the cache, it contacts one or more DNS servers on the web to see if they have a match. When a match is found, the DNS server updates the local cache and resolves the request. If the domain isn't found after a reasonable number of DNS checks, the DNS server responds with the domain cannot be found error. IPv4 and IPv6. Every computer, server, or network-enabled device on your network has IP addresses. An IP address is unique within your domain. There are two standard IP addresses, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 is composed of 4 sets of numbers in the range of 0 to 255, each separated by a dot. For example, 127.0.0.1 today. IPv4 is the commonly used standard. Yet, with the increase in IoT devices, the IPv4 standard will eventually be unable to keep up. IPv6 is a relatively new standard and will eventually replace IPv4. It's made up of 8 groups of hexadecimal numbers, each separated by a colon. For example, like this. Many network devices are now provisioned with both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. The DNS name server can resolve domain name to both IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. DNS settings for your domain. Whether a DNS server for your domain is hosted by a third party or managed in-house, you will need to configure it for each host types you are using. Host types include web, email, other service you are using. As administrator for your company, you want to set up a DNS server by using Azure DNS. In this instance, the DNS server will act as a start of authority for your domain. Whether the DNS server for your domain is hosted by a third party or managed in-house, you will need to configure it for each host type you are using. DNS record types. Configuration information for your DNS server is stored as a file with a zone on your DNS server. Each file is called a record. The following record types are most commonly created and used. A is the host record and is the most common type of DNS record. It maps a domain and host name to the IP address, domain to IP. CNAME is a canonical name record that is used to create an alias from one domain name to another domain name. If you had a different domain name that is accessed the same website, you would CNAME. MX is the mail exchange record. It maps mail requests to your mail server, whether hosted on premises or in the cloud. TXT is the text record. It is used to associate text strings with a domain name. Azure and Microsoft 365 use text records to verify the domain ownership. Additionally, there are following record types: wildcard, CAA, NS, SAOA, SPF, SRV. SAO and NS records are created automatically when you create a DNS zone by using Azure DNS. Record sets. Some record types support the concepts of record set or a resource record set. A record set allows for multiple resources to be defined in a single record. For example, here is an A record that has one domain with two IP addresses. Okay. SOA and CNAME record cannot contain the record sets. What is Azure DNS? Azure DNS allows to host and manage your domains by using globally distributed name server infrastructure. It allows you to manage all your domains by using your existing Azure credentials. Azure DNS acts as the SOA for the domain. You cannot use Azure DNS to register domain name. You need to use third-party domain registrar for that. Why use Azure DNS to host your domain? Azure DNS built on the Azure Resource Manager service, which offers the following benefits: improved security, ease of use, private DNS domains, alias record sets. At this time, Azure DNS doesn't support domain name system security extensions. If you require this security extension, you should host this portion of your domain with third-party provider. Security features. Azure DNS provides the following security features: role-based access control, which gives fine-grained control over access to Azure resources. You can monitor their usage and control the resources and services to which they have access. Activity logs, which lets you track changes to a resource and pinpoint where faults occurred. Resource locking, which gives you a greater level of control to restrict or remove access to resource groups, subscriptions, or any other Azure resources. Ease of use. Azure DNS can manage DNS records for your Azure services and provide DNS for your external resources. Azure DNS uses the same Azure credentials, support, contract, and billing as your Azure resources. You can manage your domains and records using Azure Portal, Azure PowerShell commandless, Azure CLI. Applications that require automated DNS management can integrate with service by using REST API and SDKs. Private domain. Azure DNS handles translating external domain names into public IP addresses. Azure DNS lets you create private zones. This provides name resolution for virtual machines within a virtual network and between virtual networks without having to create a custom domain solution. This allows you to use your own custom domain names rather than Azure provided names. To publish private DNS zone to your virtual network, you simply specify the list of virtual networks that are allowed to resolve records within the zone. Private DNS zones have the following benefits. There is no need to invest DNS resolution. DNS zones are supported as part of the Azure infrastructure. All DNS record types are supported: AS, CNAME, text, MX, SOA, AAA, PTR, and SRV. Host names for VMs in your virtual network are automatically maintained. Split origin DNS support allows the same domain name to exist in both private and public zones. It resolves to the correct one based on the originating request location. Alias record sets. Alias record sets can point to an Azure resource. For example, you can set up alias record to direct traffic to Azure public IP addresses, an Azure Traffic Manager profile, or an Azure Content Delivery Network endpoint. The alias record set is supported in the following DNS record types: AAA, CNAME. Check your knowledge. What is Azure DNS allows you to do? What security feature does Azure DNS provide? What type of DNS record you should create to map one or more IP addresses against a single domain? Single domain. Let's see. All are wrong. Maps a domain name to another domain name. AAA. Okay. Listen. Azure DNS built-in Azure Resource Manager, which provides security across all resources in DNS. Role-based access control, activity logs, and resource locking. Let me do it again. Manage and host your registered domain and associated records. Resource locking, A and AAA. Great. Azure DNS allows to use your registered domains. You can control configure domain records like CNAME, MX, and set up alias records. Built-in Azure Resource Manager, which provides security across all resources in Azure DNS. Maps IP addresses to domain. Multiple IP addresses are known as record set. Configure Azure DNS to host your domain. The new company website is final testing. You are working on a plan to deploy worldwide. WideWorldImports.com domain by using Azure DNS. You need to understand what steps are involved. Create and configure DNS zone for your domain by using Azure DNS. Understand how to link your domain to Azure DNS zone. Create a configure private DNS zone. You use a third-party domain name registrar to register WideWorldImports.com domain. The domain doesn't point to your organized website yet. To host the domain name with Azure DNS, you first need to create DNS zone for the domain. A DNS zone holds all the DNS entries for your domain. When creating a DNS zone, you need to supply the following details: subscription, resource group, name, resource group location, like this. Get your Azure DNS name servers. After you create a DNS zone for your domain, you need to get the name server details for the name server record. You will use these details to update your domain registrar information and point Azure DNS zone. Update domain registrar setting. As the domain owner, you need to sign into the domain management application provided by your domain registrars. In the management application, edit the NS record and change the NS details to match your Azure DNS name server details. Changing the NS details is called the domain delegation. When you delegate the domain, you must use all your 4 name servers provided by Azure DNS. Verify delegation domain name. The next step is to verify that the delegated domain now points to Azure DNS zone you created for the domain. This can take up to 10 minutes but might take longer. To verify the success of the domain delegation, query the start of authority record. The SOA record was automatically created when the Azure DNS zone was set up. You can do this by using third-party tool like NSLookup. The SOA record present in your domain represent your domain and will become the reference point when other DNS servers are searching for your domain on the internet. To verify the delegation, NSLookup like this. Configure your DNS custom DNS setting. The domain name wide world imports. When it is used as a browser, the domain resolves to your website. But what if you want to add web servers or load balancers? These resources need to have their own custom settings in the DNS zone, either as a record or CNAME. Each A record requires the following: name, and the instance it's A, TTL represents time to live as a whole unit, where one is 1 second. This value indicates how long a record lives in DNS cache before it expires. IP address of the server to which a record should be resolved. CNAME is the canonical name or the alias for an A record. Use CNAME when you have different domain names that all access the same website. For example, you might need CNAME for Wide World Import Zone if you want both wideworldimports.com, wideworldimports.com to resolve the same IP address. You would create the CNAME record in Wide World Imports Zone with the following information. If you expose a web function, you would create CNAME record that is also Azure function. Configure private DNS zone to provide name resolution for virtual machine within the virtual network and between virtual networks. Create a private DNS zone. In Azure portal, search for private DNS zone. To create a private zone, you need to enter resource group and name of the zone. For example, the name might be something like private.worldwideimports.com. So this is the screen it looks like. Identify virtual networks. Let's assume that your organization has already created your VMs virtual networks in production environment. Identify the virtual networks associated with VMs that need name resolution support. To link virtual networks to the private zone, you need the virtual network names. Link your virtual network to private DNS zone. To link the private DNS zone to virtual network, you will create virtual network link. In the Azure portal, go to the private zone and select virtual machine links. To link private DNS zone with virtual network, you create virtual network link. In the Azure portal, go to the private zone and select virtual network link like this. And add to pick virtual network you want to link to the private zone. Okay, you add virtual network link required for each virtual network that needs to private name resolution support. In the next unit, we'll learn how to create public DNS zone. Let's see how much time it may take. Sandbox got activated. In this unit, we'll set up Azure DNS and create public DNS zone. Create a record. Verify that a record resolves to an IP address. Oh, sign into the Azure portal. Wait, amazing. On the home page, Azure Services, create a resource. Create resources pane appears. In the search, DNS zone. DNS zones. I'll click on create. Basics tab. Enter what? Subscription. The resource group. Select learn. Name should be like this. Okay. Now let preview and create. I don't know, it may fail. After validation process, select create DNS zone. When deployment completes, go to resources, DNS zone appears. By default, DNS SAO record sets are automatically created and automatically deleted when a DNS zone is created or deleted. The next record set defines the Azure DNS namespace and contains 4 Azure DNS records. You use all 4 records when you update the register. The SAO record represents your domain and used for when other DNS servers are searching for your domain. Make a note of NS record values. You need them in the next section. NS record values names about these are right. Okay, we'll know that. Now create the DNS zone. Now that the DNS zone exists, you will need to create the necessary records to support the domain. The primary record set to create is the A record. A record is used to point the traffic from logical domain name to hosting server's IP address. A record set can have multiple records. In a record set, the domain name remains constant while IP address differ. DNS zone. On the DNS zone pane in the top menu, select record set. Okay. www. Type A address record, alias record set no, TTL1, TTL unit, hours, IP address 00. Results to in real world scenario you would enter public IP address for your web server. You don't have web server. Select OK to add records to your zone. Note that it's possible to have more than one IP address set up for your web server. In that case, you would add all the associated IP addresses as a records in a record set. After it's created, you can update the record set with additional IP addresses. Verify your global Azure DNS. In real-world scenario, after you create the public DNS zone, you would update NS record of the domain name register to delegate the domain in Azure. Even though we don't have a register now, it's possible to verify the DNS zone works as expected by using NS lookup tool. Use NS lookup to verify the configuration. Replace the DNS zone name with the zone you created. Replace name server address with one of the NS values you copied. Right. Now, what we'll do? See 10. Okay, you should see that the hostname points to 10. You have successfully set up DNS zone and create an A record. Dynamically resolve resource name by using alias record. You have now successfully delegated a domain from the domain register to your Azure DNS and configured A record to link domain to your web server. The next phase of the deployment to improve resiliency by using a load balancer. A load balancer distributes inbound data requests and traffic across one or more servers. They reduce load on any one server and improve performance. This technology is well established and you will use it throughout your on-premises network. You know that A record and CNAME record don't support direct connection to Azure resources like your load balancer. You have been tasked with finding how to link Apex domain with load balancer. Okay. So A and CNAME record don't support Azure load balancer. What is an Apex domain? The Apex domain is your domain at highest level. Apex domain is your domain's highest level. In our case, that's wideworldimports.com. The Apex domain is also sometimes referred to as zone Apex or root Apex. It is often represented by the @ symbol in your DNS records. If you check DNS zone for imports.com, you will see that there are two Apex domain records, NS and SAA. The NS and SAA records are automatically created when you created the DNS zone. Exactly. CNAME records that you might need for an Azure Traffic Manager profile or Azure Content Delivery Network endpoints aren't supported at the zone apex level. What it is? CNAME records that you might need for Azure Traffic Manager profile or Azure Content Delivery Network endpoints aren't supported at the zone apex level. However, other alias records are supported at the zone apex level. Okay. What are alias records? Azure alias records enable zone apex domain to reference other Azure resources from the DNS zone. You don't need to create complex redirection policies. You can also use Azure aliases to route all traffic through Traffic Manager. The Azure alias record can point to the following Azure resources: Traffic Manager, Content Delivery Network, Public IP, Front-end Profile, Front Door Profile. Alias records provide lifecycle tracking of target resources, ensuring that changes to any target resources are automatically applied to the DNS zone. Alias records also provide support for load-balanced applications in zone apex. The alias record set supports the following DNS zone record types: A. IPv4 domain name mapping, IPv6 domain name mapping, CNAME alias for your domain, which links to a record. Uses for alias record. The following are some advantages of using alias records. Prevents dangling DNS records. A dangling DNS record occurs when DNS zone records are up to date with changes to the IP addresses. Alias records prevent dangling references by tightly coupling lifecycle of DNS record with an Azure resource. Updates DNS record set automatically when IP addresses change. When the underlying IP addresses of a resource, service, or application is changed, the alias record ensures that any associated DNS records are automatically refreshed. Hosts load balanced applications at the zone apex. Alias records allow for zone apex resource routing to traffic managers. Okay. Points to zone apex to Azure Content Delivery Network endpoint. With alias records, you can now directly reference your Azure Content Delivery Network instance. An alias record allows you to link a zone apex to a load balancer. It creates a link to Azure resource rather than direct IP based connection. So if an IP address of your load balancer changes, the zone apex record continues to work. Let's see. I'm excited. Set up a virtual network with 2 VMs and load balancer. Learn how to configure Azure alias to zone apex to direct to load balancer. Verify the domain name resolves to one of either VMs and your virtual network. So in Azure Cloud Shell, run the setup script. So manually creating will take some time. This time you can use Bash script. So this is the infrastructure we created. So run the script. The setup script takes a few minutes to run. Script creates network security group, network interface cards to VMs, virtual network assigns the VM, public IP address, updates the configuration of VMs, load balancer that references the VMs including rules, and load balancer links NSC to the load balancer. Okay. It shows the public IP address of the load balancer. Create alias record on your zone apex. Go to the portal, resource groups pane appears. Home. This is resource group. Go to this resource group, and here select the resource group ends with 0F. What is this? Storage account. Okay, this one appears in the list resources. Select the DNS zone you created in the previous exercise. Okay, this one we created. In the menu bar, select record set. Add record set appears. Okay. So here we actually it didn't come with So enter the following values for each setting to create alias record. By leaving the blank, indicate the DNS zone for okay. Type should be a. When we are creating alias, base type should be either a cname, okay, and alias record set yes, alias type Azure resource. Wait, Azure resource from the list. Select my public IP. It may take up to 5 minutes. Shit, man. Public IP address. Okay, it will take some time actually. Still, it is running the thing fine. So we'll select my public IP address and then select OK to add the record type. When new alias record is created, it should look something like this. Verify that alias resolves to the load balancer. In Azure portal, go to the resource group, select my public IP, then select copy icon next to the IP address. In the browser, paste the public address of the URL. You will see the basic web page that shows the name of the VM, which the load balancer send the required. Azure portal, go to the resource group, select my public IP. So if I take the public IP, okay, create load balancer that represents the VMs, including rules for load balancer. Okay, Azure DNS. Okay, normally only if I take the to verify alias record is set up correctly. In real world scenario, you would have actual domain. Okay, and would have completed the domain delegation to Azure DNS. You would use the registered domain name for the exercise, but because this unit assumes there is no registered domain, you will use the public IP address. Okay, yeah, let's go to the summary. So your company recently brought the custom domain name by Edward Limpos from third-party domain name. Restart the domain name is for a new website your organization plans to launch. You need a hosting service for DNS domain. This hosting service would resolve the wideworldimpose.com domain to your Azure-based web server's IP address. Your company wanted to manage all their infrastructure and related domain name information in one place. You have seen how easy it was to manage DNS information by using Azure DNS zone. First, you created an Azure DNS zone and then you updated DNS records at your domain register to point at it. You learned uses of different records as AAS, CNAME, NS, and SOA. You will also learn how you can use Azure aliases to override the static AAS CNAME record to provide a dynamic reference to your services. Resources. Using an Azure DNS zone improved your company's administration of resources because your staff only needed one place to manage DNS related tasks. The Azure DNS zone allows better control and integration with your Azure resources. It is possible to achieve some of the more basic record set functions by using the domain registers management console. However, linking to any of your Azure resources becomes difficult or impossible without high degree of complex redirection. By using Azure DNS zone to host your domain, your organization benefits by having all the resources managed through a single common interface. This includes better integration with existing Azure resources, improved security and monitoring tools. Yeah, that's it for today. Let me see where we have come till. Shown about this is the IP address. If I take this IP address and paste it, what it will display? This retail website web server VM2. If I go and add a record set, name will take an automatically record set, alias yes, select Azure resource, my public IP, and OK. So if I go and search for public IP addresses, my public IP will display. This is it, creating a record set. So this is the public IP address of 96.120. That's it, right? Nothing new. I don't know why these people. Fine. That's it for today. Have a great day. Bye.